So, Howard Kurtz, now who got fired for his goofing around with Jason Collins, not that, but he was criticizing him for saying he didn't disclose that he was engaged to a woman in a heterosexual relationship, which he had disclosed. So now Howard Kurtz is out, and he's a horrible reporter. He should be fired, but not for that alone. There are so many horrible things. Now, we talk about this on the show all the time, about both sides do it, right? The media can't help but report a story about, well, the left says this and the right says that, and that's the story, which they're, like I always say, there isn't two sides to the truth. You have to decipher what the truth is and tell me, and then tell me who's fucking lying, okay? But they don't do that, right? And Howard Kurtz is the king. And the ironic thing is Howard Kurtz hosts a show where he's the watchdog on the media, and he's worse than the people he's reporting on. His show is called Reliable Sources. The ironic thing, it's not reliable. It should be called Unreliable Sources with Howard Kurtz.
Well, it's just the completion of our narcissism as a culture. We now are hosting a show called Reliable Sources, and he's the unreliable source. Again today, I have been unreliable, and I've caught it. You can follow me on Twitter at Howard Kurtz, or follow our show at Howard Kurtz Sucks.
At Shit Room. CNN Shit Room.
You are not going to believe what I said 8 minutes ago.
Hashtag courtesy flush.
So Howard Kurtz brings on a couple of reporters to talk about it. One is Cenk Uygur, right here from the TYT network. And so here's how Cenk kind of breaks it down for us. Ready? Here we go.
Cenk Uygur has the tone on the airwaves about what happened in Boston gotten too vitriolic.
Well, it has, but we know why. I mean, let's be honest about who makes it vitriolic. It's usually Fox News talking about Muslims, which is ironic because this is the same Bill O'Reilly who kept calling Dr. Tiller the baby killer until Scott Roeder shot him. So here's a fundamentalist that's a Christian worried about fundamentalists who are Muslims and driving people to violence. I mean,
understand.
It's incredibly ironic.
I understand why you as a liberal would want to blame Fox News.
Yeah, so I'm just going to, I know I invited you on the show, but you're a liberal, so fuck you.
So everything you just said, dismissed.
I don't want to hear what you have to say. Nothing you say is important or can be relied on, because I say you're a liberal, so let's move on to someone else.
Right.
And why did you invite him on if you're just going to dismiss him like that?
Here at Reliable Sources, we pretend to be a show that tells you what side of the media is being fair or not, and it's all equal.
Everything is all equal. The end has to be justified. So, when I was in the, I went to journalism school at Columbia.
Yes, I
don't know whether you guys know
Yes,
that.
do.
But, interesting, even there, even there, they did a bad job of one thing. I mean, they train you to be a good journalist, and I had a lot of really good teachers there, a lot of good professors. But they always talked about objectivity and fairness, those two things. That's what they drill in. No one talks about truth. And you mentioned it just a second ago. That's what you got to get to.
There aren't two sides to the truth.
What's true? What's true? Your job should be to uncover the truth. When Joe McCarthy was making numbers of 75, 2 guys I'm at the table with are communists, 4 people in the room are communists, 40 people at the Defense Department are communists. Howard Kurtz, if he'd been hosting Reliable Sources then, would have condemned Joe McCarthy for those numbers. And then as soon as someone stood up and said, Joe McCarthy doesn't know what he's talking about,
both sides do it.
then they would have said, how dare you say Joe McCarthy doesn't know what he's talking about? And that's the end of it. That's Howard Kurtz's idea of truth. And there's no truth there. And I don't understand why we can't use that word and give up on this notion of objectivity.
Or balance.
We're obsessed with balance. Mm-hmm. When I was a reporter, that's what I had to go do, man. You got a story, do whatever you can, scroll through the phone book, find someone to say something crazy on the other Oh, thank God. My story's complete. It's now fair.
Well, in fairness, I studied journalism at Columbia also, but Columbia is South America, and when the truth is reported, you get shot. So that's why this hasn't been ingrained in our culture.
I was wondering why we didn't have any classes together. Yeah.
True.
You were in Bogota. That's right, yeah.
No, it's not verdad.